Stop dreaming. If the banks were already flooding in, XRP wouldn't be chilling at $2 and some change. So picture this. I'm sipping my lukewarm latte the other morning, doom scrolling through X when a tweet with the handle 𝗲𝗀𝗃 practically jumps off my phone. The gist? We'll know banks are using XRP because one coin will cost as much as a week's vacation in Bali. Think $100, $500, even a cool grand. It's a bold claim, right? It felt so outrageous that I had to dig in, because when someone tosses around a 4-digit price tag for a token that's barely cracked the price of my coffee, you either have to laugh it off or investigate it. Okay, so quick rewind. XRP is sitting roughly at $2 and some change, $2.20 we'll call it right now. That's after a wild year where it tried to punch through $3 in January, but got rejected harder than my last diet. Now we're still up 300+% year over year, but $2 is light years from $100 entry level that 𝗲𝗀𝗃 is promising. So his logic is simple, maybe too simple. Low price equals banks haven't shown up yet. When they do, boom, instant moonshot. At first blush, that sounds seductive. I mean, who doesn't want to jump on a rocket ship for the price of a bus ticket? Now, the tweets kind of blew up with laser-eyed replies, diamond hand emojis, and the usual "I'm loading my bag before it's too late" hype. But then the reality check kicked in. If XRP leapt to $100, that's a cool 4,500% gain. A $500 print rockets, up to 22,900%. And $1,000? Well, we're talking about 46,000% leap, enough to, catapult XRP's market cap past Apple, Microsoft, and depending on which chart that you're staring at, maybe even straight past Bitcoin. Now, that's the level where regulators stop sending letters and start showing up in person. Now, let's unpack why 𝗲𝗀𝗃 thinks the fuse gets lit when the banks arrive. Now, Ripple, remember, the company, not the coin, built a kind of slick product suite that includes RippleNet for messaging and on-demand liquidity, ODL. Now, that's all for settlement. Now, ODL is the only kind of segment that actually needs XRP. The rest can hum along using fiat or even a shiny new stablecoin like RLUSD. So theoretically, if every global bank, wanted the cheapest, faster cross-border rails, they'd flip the ODL switch and suck up XRP like a vacuum. Price goes up, right? Well, in practice though, banks love control. They'll test CBDCs, play around with private ledgers, or, brace yourself, skip the token and push dollars through Ripple's rails without touching XRP. Now, Tranglo and SBI Japan already use bits of the stack, and they're hardly waving 4-digit price tags over our heads. I mean, hell, Ripple themselves keep reminding everyone, at least anyone who will listen, that their software is demand neutral. It doesn't shove XRP's price up or down. The translation here? You could run trillions of dollars across RippleNet tomorrow, and the market might shrug if the traffic stays in fiat or stablecoins. That's not FUD, by the way, that's the fear or uncertainty and doubt. It's just how liquidity math works. Right now, the entire XRP float wouldn't cover a single $1 trillion remittance day. So to each kind of 𝗲𝗀𝗃 kind of stratosphere, we would need exponential liquidity growth before the banks actually show up, not merely because they do. But here's the catch. Hype cycles are oxygen for crypto prices. People believe first, math catches up later. Or sometimes not. Right? I remember 2017 when folks said Bitcoin to $1 million by 2020. Spoiler, we're 5 years late and $940,000 short. But, belief carries, BTC from 3 digits to 5 digits. Now, that could, at least I should say, could the same optimism shove XRP to $100? Maybe, right? Price is a mood ring for sentiment. Yet once you kind of cross $500 per coin, you're no longer depending on mood. You're actually challenging the GDP of a medium-sized nation. Okay, let's talk roadblocks then, right? Regulation, it still lurks like a final boss encounter on your favorite video game. Yes, Ripple just scored a massive win against the SEC, and that cleared some of the fog. But bankers, they'll want more than just clarity, right? They want guarantees, predictable rules, not surprise subpoenas, and no headlines that scream Bank X was caught holding, unregistered securities. Now, also, you've got competition is heating up. Central bank digital currencies are nearly out of beta. Stablecoins like USDC have, brand recognition and regulatory frameworks kind of budding in multiple jurisdictions. If you're a risk-averse treasurer at a, let's say, global bank, do you bet the farm on XRP or slide into a government-blessed CBDC with the press of a button? And yet optimism persists, and not without reason. ODL's pitch is purely efficiency porn, 3-second settlements, near zero fees, and no need to park pre-cash in a far-flung Nostro account. Now that saves banks serious money. Ripple once kind of pegged the savings at 42% on certain corridors. The kicker? Well, those benefits amplify if XRP is the liquidity bridge. Now that's the carrot that Ripple dangles here, and it's juicy enough that early adopters like SBI keep doubling down. A few mega banks jumping in could spark a domino effect, and markets trade on anticipation, not completion. Okay then, so where does that leave us humble retail stackers? For starters, perspective, right? The analyst's tweet is less a spreadsheet forecast and a more morale booster. Huddle tight, lads. Greener pastures ahead. Right? It kind of taps into the fear of missing out, dangling the idea that today's price is a fire sale. Now, I won't knock anyone for dreaming big, right? Dreams move markets, but marrying your financial future to a single post is like proposing on the first date. It's romantic until, well, it isn't. Now, personally, I treat these moonshot targets like motivational posters. They're nice on the wall, but I'm not mortgaging my house over them. Instead, I'm going to zoom out and ask the question, what is happening under the hood? Ripple just bought prime broker Hidden Road for $1.25 billion, the biggest deal in their history. Now that unlocks deeper institutional on-ramps. They're also rolling out stablecoin rails, pitching to 90 markets and 55 currencies. Now, every step that makes crypto plumbing invisible to end users nudges adoption forward. Now, if crypto becomes the backbone that nobody thinks about, or the backend that nobody thinks about, things like HTTPS in your browser, then yes, utility tokens can re-rate higher. Now, whether that's $10, $100, or $1,000 for XRP depends on how indispensable it becomes in that invisible stack. Okay, so let me throw you a curveball. Maybe the narrative itself is more potent than the math. I mean, look at Dogecoin. It was literally born as a joke, yet hype, community, and a billionaire's posts carried it to a $70 billion valuation. Now, if the story of XRP as the banker's coin grips the mainstream imagination, fundamentals might play catch-up later. Now, stranger things have, pumped in the past. And remember, right, you're not alone on this odyssey, right? Our free crypto Discord server, that's a link for that in the description down below, is overflowing with traders discussing charts, sharing order flow screenshots, and yes, debating whether $1,000 XRP is delusion or destiny? So why don't you slide in, lurk, or drop a hot take, right? Don't be the person who buys first and research later, right? The community will roast you for it lovingly, of course. All right then, deep breath, right? Because here's where the rubber meets the road. Right? Imagine tomorrow a global consortium, right? Let's say HSBC, Santander, and DBS announces full stack ODL integration, right? Liquidity surges, market makers scramble, price gaps faster than you can refresh coin market cap. Retail FOMO ignites, headlines scream, bankers embrace crypto rails, and suddenly Barry C's tweet looks, I guess like prophecy. Now, could that chain reaction hit $100 in a parabolic sprint? Possibly. But breaching $500 or $1,000 would still require either aggressive supply shock, say hello giant token burns, or a macro event that pushes trillions of dollars through XRP every single week. Not impossible, but definitely a high gravity climb. Now, before we wrap up today, let's kind of crystallize the key takeaways, right? One, today's modest price isn't proof that banks are ignoring Ripple's technology. It merely shows that they can dip a toe without touching the token. Two, real utility matters here, right? But narrative momentum can amplify or suppress that utility in the price chart. Three, regulation is the ever-present kind of wild card, right? Play nice with the SEC and other watchdogs, or risk an abrupt rug pull. 4, diversification isn't just a buzzword. It's seatbelts for your portfolio when Twitter dreams crash into the on-chain reality. And 5, maybe the most crucial, you control your strategy, whether you're a dollar cost averaging, swing trading, or simply kind of spectating, right? Set your own targets before adopting someone else's, right? Predictions are cheap. Conviction is expensive. If XRP does ascend to triple digits, fantastic. You were early to the party. And if it stalls or drifts sideways, well, the world keeps spinning and another opportunity will pop up. That's crypto. Brutal, brilliant, and never boring. And so, did Barry C's tweet change my outlook? Honestly, it sharpened it, right? Hype reminds me to check my bias, refresh my research, and stay nimble. Now, I'm still bullish on the tech, cautiously optimistic on the token, and fully aware that no one rings the bell at the top or the bottom. Now, if you want to keep this conversation rolling, hop into our Discord server. The link is in the description down below. The debates there are spicier than a jalapeno latte.